Hello Champagne Dreamers, welcome back to my channel. I'm your girl, Miss Jaye. And for this video, in addition to this crazy wig, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we are going back to the makeup Thunderdome. So for this video, you already saw in the title, I am going to rank all 7 of the Norvina Pro palettes from ABH. Now, I didn't include these in my original ranking of my 8 ABH palettes. The reason why is because Norvina has sort of advertised this as an offshoot of the regular brand, and also because, as I said in that video, if I were to include those in the ranking, these would beat all of those anyway. So even the one that I liked the most, I think I still like all of these palettes better. So if you were wondering if I was going to ever go back and correct and do like a full ranking of all of those palettes with all of these palettes, all you have to do is take this video and stick these 7 on top of those 8, and that's my ranking of the full 15 palettes. So if you are interested to see how I ranked these palettes, there are 4 full size and 3 mini palettes, so we've got a lot of shades, a lot of colors to look at and work with. Definitely stick around because we're getting into it right now. Okay, so for this Makeup Thunderdome, we have 7 palettes from the ABH Norvina Pro line. So we have the Pro Volume 1, the Pro Volume 2, the Pro Volume 3, and of course the Pro Volume 4. In addition to those full-size 25 pan eyeshadow palettes, they also came out with 3 mini palettes that are smaller pans and 9 shades each. The Mini Volume 1, the Mini Volume 2, and no surprise for those that can count, the Mini Volume 3. So for these rankings, I am going to go ahead and take a look at the color stories, the packaging. I generally like the performance of these a lot. I like the way that they blend. I like the mattes. I like the shimmers. I prefer these formulas to the regular line Anastasia palettes just because I think the colors are more saturated, they're more vivid, but I do have some thoughts about which ones are the best in this line and which are the worst. So let's go ahead and get into that with number 7. In the number 7 spot, we have the Norvina Pro Volume 4. This is the newest. I don't have a lot of experience playing with this one. I didn't end up doing a review for my website. I may go back and do like a retro review, but the reason why I put this one in last place is because of the large Pro palettes. This one is the most neutral. So it's got the most kind of neutral, more subdued shades. It's that pinky purple romantic kind of color story, which is beautiful. And I do love some of the individual shades, but it's just a little bit more neutral, a little bit more subdued. And also, these 2 shades right here are fucking pressed glitters. Stop with the pressed glitters. They need to die in a car fire. I'm tired of it. Do you hear me, Anastasia Beverly Hills? I'm tired of it. Don't get into that trend. You've already done it with this palette, with the Amrezy palette. You can stop. You tried it. It's fine. Move on. In the number 6 spot, we have the Pro Mini Volume 2. First of all, let's take a look at the packaging. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is a sticker, and this is just cracking off, and so I probably can even flake some of it off. It's ridiculous. So this, I don't know why they went with this like cheap stickery kind of, whatever they did to apply this, it's terrible, it's cracking, it looks a hot mess. Now inside the palette, by all rights, I should love this color story because there are beautiful greens, there's this bright pop of yellow, and I do love this color story, except that this yellow shade came broken and I had to like push it back down into the pan, and it has just continued to break and flake off and make a mess ever since I got it. Now, why did this one not end up in the bottom spot? Because even though there's some problems, I do think I love the brightness of this over all the neutrals that are in the Volume 4, but this is just unacceptable. This quality is terrible. The sticker on the packaging, the packaging is really kind of inconsistent on these, and I don't understand why. So I wish, because this is lovely, like this when it was fresh looked beautiful, but when it's all cracking and the shadows are broken, no ma'am. Miss me with that shit. In the number 5 spot, we have the Pro Pigment Volume 3. Now, I do really like the color story in this one, but before we get into the colors and look at the palette, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what the fuck is happening on the cover of this palette with these gold butterflies and shit. What? Why? Why did this happen? Now, you're going to see when we get to the Volume 1 and the Volume 2, they did have gold detailing like this one does, but it's more Art Deco. It's geometric, and it's actually kind of beautiful. So I would have loved it if they would have just continued with that Art Deco or something sort of geometric, but these tacky-ass butterflies, what the actual fuck? I don't know why this happened. And then for the Volume 4, they went to just a plain with no metallic detailing. Now, I would have preferred that they either just stuck with this sort of plain, I think this is very beautiful and very sophisticated, or stick with the gold detailing that was sort of geometric or Art Deco or whatever, but this is just ugly. These butterflies are reprehensible. You are unforgiven, Norvina. Unforgiven. Now, inside, I do love that they have lots of beautiful green shades. The greens are a little bit more yellow-based. They're a little bit more swampy green, which I do like those kinds of greens as well, but I prefer blue-toned greens, a little bit more cool, a little bit more kind of emerald, that sort of thing. But these are still beautiful, and this, I think, of the big palettes, I would say that this is the most coherent color story. I think that this color story makes the most sense in it being sort of... This is like a real, true fall palette. I feel like this is the colors of fall. So you still have some green that's hanging around, but things have started to turn orange and red and yellow, and there's some browns and some rich purples, those deep berries. I think it's beautiful. I just wish it was in better packaging, but that's the way that it came out, and so this ended up in the number 5 spot. In the number 4 spot, we have the Pro Pigment Volume 2. Now this one, by all rights, should have been my favorite, because this is all of those blues and greens. It's very cool toned. It's the most cool toned of all the big palettes. It's just beautiful colors. I love these. I just wish the performance was better. Unfortunately, the performance on these, for whatever reason, is just not as good as the other big palettes. I don't know why that happened. And so this one probably would have been my number 1 if the performance had been as good as the other big palettes. I really would have loved to put this in number 1, but it's just not as good. But in terms of the packaging, do you see what I mean about how this has this kind of beautiful geometric chevron look? If they were going to continue with the gold detailing, or if they had to do gold detailing, I would have much preferred this over those awful butterflies. Ugh. In the number 3 spot, we have the Pro Mini Volume 1. I love that the packaging on this continues that geometric shape. Again, it kind of matches the earlier palettes. I don't know why there are those oddball palettes that don't match the other things, although that's not always bad, as we're going to see, but I like this. I like the more geometric. I like the kind of beautiful sophistication. It's not plain, it's not boring, but it's not overly complicated. And then in terms of the shades, there are some beautiful pinks. That sort of corally pink is really lovely. I love that shade. I love the purples into the orchids. Now, I wish there were more of like a blue purple, or a blurple, as some people might say. I don't know who says that, but I even get mad at myself saying it. But I love it, a blurple. And so I wish there was more of that tone. It's really warm toned in terms of the purples. It's really more red leaning, but I do love it. I think this is a beautiful palette. I just wish there was a little bit more of that blue toned purple to combine with these shades. Let's take a brief moment to talk about this wig, this monstrosity that's on my head. You've probably been wondering about it. I've been wondering about it myself. So I have been playing around with trying to style my own wigs. So this is one of my very early wig styling projects, and it's a bit of a mess. It's a little bit like Flintstones meets white trash. But I like it. This is just like an $11 wig that I found on Amazon. And I followed a couple tutorials. If you've ever watched Online Kine, and Kine is a drag performer that I guess is on the Canada version of RuPaul's Drag Race. But they don't call it RuPaul's for them. I think they just call it Canada's Drag Race. But it's like an offshoot. I don't know how it all works. I don't understand. But Kine is on that first season, and Kine has done a bunch of wig tutorials. So I followed some of her wig tutorials, and I have been playing around. This is a little bit of a mess, but it was kind of fun, and I thought with the Joker shirt that I'm wearing, it's kind of a fun, weird moment, and so I hope you've been enjoying it. And I know that it's a mess, I know that it's bizarre, but I styled it, and I've never been good with wigs, and so I've just been playing with styling some of them. So you may start to see some kind of oddball monstrosity show up in my videos. We're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna roll with it. It's gonna be fine. Alright, in the number 2 spot, we have the Pro Mini Volume 3. I absolutely love the packaging on this one, and I don't know why, because I read those butterflies to filth. And this is a similar sort of idea, but there's something about these little holographic cherries against this beautiful turquoisey backdrop that I love. I am in love with this. I don't know why. Maybe if those butterflies hadn't been gold and had been some sort of like holographic, I would have absolutely been thrilled with it. I hated that, but I love this. There's something about this packaging. This is my favorite packaging of all 7 palettes. This is also one of my favorite color stories. And this almost took the number 1 spot because I really do love this interesting juxtaposition of the reds and berries with this bright pop of green and this light sky blue and this sort of duochrome shade. This is a pressed glitter. And that shade is why this is in the number 2 spot. It's not a bad pressed glitter. As pressed glitters go, this is one of my favorites because I think it goes on really smoothly and it's beautiful. But I just could not, in good conscience, with as much shit as I talk about pressed glitters, I could not put a palette with a pressed glitter in the number 1 spot. If that shade had been anything else, this would have been the number 1 palette because I do love this color story. I love this combination of colors. And I am obsessed with this adorable cherry packaging. I don't know why I love it for cherries and I hate it for butterflies. I just do. I said what I said and I meant it. This is in the number 2 spot, the Mini Volume 3. And that means that in the number 1 spot, of course, it had to be the OG, the first of the line, the Norvina Pro Volume 1. First of all, I do love this packaging, and of the packaging that's got the gold detailing, I think this is the best. I think it's the most sophisticated. I think that it's the best execution of it. I would have loved to seen all of these be just whatever the color of the plastic was with none of this detailing, kind of like the number 4 was, the pink. I would have loved that, but with the ones that are detailed, I think this is the most effective. I think it's the most beautiful. I love Art Deco. I think this is a beautiful way of using Art Deco to make this palette really pop. And then in terms of color stories, I love a pink and purple color story. I just do. I think that this is beautiful. You can make the most gorgeous sunset eye looks with this. You can make purple looks. You can make pink looks. There's these little unexpected mustardy colors with that gold and a couple kind of bronzy browns if you want to make it a little bit warmer, a little bit more neutral. I think that there's a lot of variety while also keeping coherent enough that you can make very specific kinds of looks. Most of the shades blend well with most of the other shades. This was the first one. I still think it's the best. This is the Norvina Pro Palette Volume 1. So that is my ranking of all of the Norvina Pro palettes. I think they are amazing. I think that you get fantastic value for your money. Yes, the big palettes are $60, but you get 25 shades, and those pans are enormous. So I'm going to look up a comparison of the size between these two pans from the original line and the Pro line, but just look at the difference between those. I'll put it up on the screen so you can see the actual amount, but just look at that. Look at the size difference. You get 14 of these for $45, So people have no problem paying $45 for these 14 little tiny dick pans. But then look at this. You get 25 of these, almost double. And you get huge pan sizes. And again, I'll have the comparison of the sizes on the screen. And I may try to Stephanie Nicole that shit and like divide it out and tell you what the cost per gram is. But this is clearly a much better value than this. But people are so mad about the price of this compared to this. I don't understand it. I think that these are fantastic value for the money when you consider the cost per gram. And I just think the color stories are so much more vivid, saturated, vibrant. That's what I need in my life. I don't need another fucking neutral palette with a pop of cranberry red, with a pop of blue, with a pop of yellow, with a pop of coral, whatever it is. I don't need that. I need bright colors. And those Norvina Pro palettes are becoming staples in my show makeup. I absolutely love it. I think they hold their own with any of the like go-to brands that I use for show makeup, for photo shoot makeup. I absolutely love the performance. The large size volume 2 was a little iffy, but even that is better than so many other palettes I have in my collection. So this is my ranking. I hope you liked it. Definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Would you have had a different palette in the #1 spot? Would you have had a completely different order? Tell me your thoughts and let me know what you're thinking down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget, right below, you can click on the thumbs up or the thumbs down. We'll take the engagement. Go ahead and let us know how you felt about the video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so that you'll get notified of all my future uploads. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate, all of my social medias will be linked down in the description box below. And don't forget that you can always find more great makeup and lifestyle content on my website, The World of Champagne, at janessajay.com. Thank you so much for watching, and until I see you again, bye. In the #7 spot, we have the Norvina Pro Volume 4. Fuck. It's just a magnet. These goddamn claws.
Do you need to get it?
It's a strong magnet. There we go. Bless you.
Thank you.
I just wish it was in better packaging. But that's life. That's fucking weird. But that's the way that it came out, and so this ended up in the #5 spot. And to look, I couldn't remember where we're at. If the performance had been as good as the other big palettes.
What was it?
Now, and that, of course, that the first palette.
That, of course, the first.
Oh, for fuck.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, for fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Friday.
Look at that. These tiny little pans, you get 14 of them, and you pay $45.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just...
Angie's designing her own cow outfits with her own pictures. You should show that on the camera.
Oh, oh, there we go.
We'll put that in the bloopers.
That's a good one. It really, like... It was a really
chin.
good picture already, but yeah, the double chin.
With that A-line. It's like if the dress spreads out for the chin. Okay. Get it together. You get 14 of these for $45, or you get 25 of these. God damn it, Angela. What are you doing?
I sent it to Natalie, and I just looked at the picture again. It's just so bad. It's just right there. It's like the fat rolls right at the bottom of my dress. I'm fine. I'm cool.
Okay, calm yourself. Definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Would you have had a different one in #1? Would you have